Nope.
I've been reluctant to share the story for some time now. Not sure why. I think part of me believes that acknowledging it with others may somehow cause it to happen again, and that's the last thing I want. But my sister told me that she shared it and so far nothing has happened, so I hope I was just being silly and thinking otherwise. It was New Year's Day, January 1st, 2012. I live in Chicago, where most of my friends and family also reside. I was on the way back from a New Year's Eve party on the west side of the city. Not a bad neighborhood per se, but one I'd rather not wander around in at night alone, if you know what I mean. Luckily, crime tended to die down during the winter. With me was my girlfriend, my sister, and my sister's boyfriend. We were riding in a two-door Honda Civic Coupe. It was about 2 or 3 in the morning. My sister's boyfriend, Andrew, was riding shotgun while the girls dozed off in the back seat. Our GPS showed that the major expressway had some night construction, and despite it being so late on a major holiday, there was traffic accumulating in the now one-lane highway. You gotta love Chicago. We decided that we would take side streets to avoid hitting the construction. Kind of stupid now that I look back. It probably would have taken the same amount of time regardless. But it was late and we didn't want to risk getting stuck. I drove through the urban roads, doing my best to avoid the legions of potholes and trash. Hitting a pothole or two is unavoidable with the brutal winters we experience. Eventually, I hit a rather large one, causing the whole car to bump up and down. Naturally, everyone awoke. A few seconds later, the car came to a complete halt. My stomach sank as I assumed the worst. I didn't think the pothole was that bad. I had definitely gone over bigger ones, going much faster. After a couple of snarky remarks from my sister and girlfriend, I told them to relax and pop the hood open. After getting out of the car, I began to inspect as much as I could. I'm no professional when it comes to the automotive field, so everything looked fine to me. Andrew came out of the car, blowing into his cupped hands for warmth. He was a bit more knowledgeable in this department, so I asked him to take a look under the hood while I tried to start it again. I sat back in my seat. The windows were both down so I can effectively communicate with Andrew. I grabbed the keys and twisted. The car choked a couple of times before quitting. Another try. This time, the choking from the engine was replaced with the dreadful clicks of a dead battery. I looked at the dash and realized how fried my battery must have been. There was no light, no radio interface, and the headlights wouldn't work. I heard the girls groan in the back seat. They were huddled together trying to keep warm. Again, I left the car and began speaking with Andrew. "How hard did you hit that thing?" he joked. "Harder than I thought, apparently," I sighed. "It's cool. I have AAA. I'll give them a call." I pulled out my phone. After hitting every available button, I realized it too had a dead battery. My aggravated eyes shot up to Andrew. He chuckled to himself and pulled out his phone, and found that his battery was dead as well. "What? I was at 50% when we left the party," he grunted. I leaned in my window and asked the girls if I could use one of their phones. Can you guess what happened next? Yeah. Both of their phones were dead as well. Now, at this point, I was tired and annoyed more than anything else. But when I realized we were stuck in an unfamiliar neighborhood in the dead of night with a broken down car and no form of communication, fear quickly began to rise. "Don't worry guys, Andrew and I will figure this out," I said, trying my best to sound reassuring. When I turned back around to Andrew, I found he had his back to me, staring into the distance. I couldn't tell what he was looking at, exactly. It was dark, really dark. None of the buildings that surrounded us had a single light on. The streetlights were mostly out and the ones that were on were flickering. Very cliche, I know, but I didn't think anything of it until that moment. As my eyes adjusted, I finally saw what Andrew was transfixed on. It was a man. He was the first person we'd seen in quite some time. He was just there, walking down the middle of the road in our direction, wearing some type of dark cloth cloaked around him. My first thought was that he was an older foreign gentleman. But why would he be walking around this late? And why not on the sidewalk? "Should we go ask him for help?" piped Andrew, breaking me out of my deep thought. I thought for a second before slowly nodding. Andrew began to yell in his direction. Excuse me, sir. Do you know where we can find a payphone or something?" The strange man just kept walking in our direction with his head down. Andrew continued to shout until eventually the man moved his head up in our direction. Instantly, Andrew and I froze. I can't speak on behalf of Andrew, but I can describe my own experience. We barely could make out the man's features, but we knew he was staring right at us. As he got closer, his face became more clear. It wasn't until he was about a block away and directly under one of the flickering streetlights that we were able to see his eyes. Solid black. I looked at Andrew, who was almost completely pale, and managed to choke out, Get in the car." Without uttering another word, we both got back inside. The girls had stopped huddling. They too were staring at the man. Their faces exuded pure dread. I tried to start the car again and got nothing. No chokes, no clicks, nothing. I tried rolling up the windows, but because the battery was dead, I couldn't. I manually locked the doors as if that could help and looked back at the man. He had stopped and was standing inches away from the front of the car. The world went silent. I made no sound. No one else in the car made a sound. The man in the car was also silent. He began to walk around the car, passing by my window. Eventually, he was mere inches away from me. I've never felt so helpless in my life. My body was frozen, and my mind was numb. All I could do was stare back at the man with wide, dilated eyes. The man stood there for a moment before smiling. Whatever that thing was, it smiled. Its teeth were sharp and rotted. Its lips twisted in a way I've never seen. Holding that smile, the man continued to walk away from the car. I looked at the side view mirror and watched as it disappeared into the thick darkness of the night. After what felt like several minutes of us sitting around in utter silence, my sister screeched in terror. We all jumped and began to scream as well. My girlfriend even managed to leap from the back seat over Andrew and get out of the open window. She literally hit the ground running. I had to chase her down to the end of the block and practically tackle her just to get her to stop. I returned her to the car where Andrew had gotten it started. Everything was working again, including our phones. I sat back inside and looked at everyone. Andrew was staring deadpan at the road ahead. My sister held him from behind, sobbing into the back seat, as my girlfriend buried her face in her hands, almost hyperventilating. I just turned back around and drove everyone home. We all decided we would spend the night at Andrew's. All four of us shared a sectional sofa. I barely slept that night, and I doubt anyone else did either. I've since broken up with my girlfriend, but Andrew and my sister are engaged. We've only recently began talking about that night. None of us really know what to make of it. We have no doubt that whatever that man was, it was evil. But what did he want? Did he know we'd be there? Or did we just happen to stumble upon him in the middle of a different task? Why did he smile at us like that? Part of me believes that he just wanted us to know. Wanted us to be completely aware of his presence and the power he had over us. He made it abundantly clear that night. I just hope that he never feels the need to ever remind us. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, make sure to let us know in the comments. Also, be sure to subscribe for more videos that'll have you saying nope. I just want to say thank you to everyone who helped make this a great year. The progress has been slow, but it's progress nonetheless, and we're hoping for a great 2016. From us to you, we're wishing everyone a fun, safe, and happy new year. And remember everyone, when in doubt, nope the hell out.